So the next part of the project is starting on the actual design. I'm going to take the bits of inspiration I've gotten from Alyssa. If you don't know who that is, check out the previous video, or part 3, I think, maybe. The one before this, whatever that is. I'm going to take inspiration she gave me, as well as her recurrent branding, and try to develop a style guide based off of that. The style guide will be built in Affinity Designer. That's just kind of my tool of choice these days. You can do it in Sketch, you can do it in Photoshop, Illustrator, whatever you want. I prefer Affinity Designer because I'm just kind of familiar with it. I've been studying it a lot. You might notice that in other videos I produce. The whole point is to create these reusable elements inside the platform so I can hone in on the user experience as opposed to worrying about what things look like immediately. This might be kind of a mundane part of the series, so it's literally probably going to be boring, but it's kind of how, thoughts and ideas come to life. I don't think you can sit down and just immediately design something kick-ass. Usually it takes like iteration after iteration before something's, kind of where you like it. And even then you probably change it later again. I'm one of those people that cannot leave a design alone. So I have to kind of come to terms on it and take it for what it's worth, and then, keep building upon it. So this video will be kicking off the actual hands-on portion of this series. You'll see me create text styles, button styles, all that stuff that we later use for the actual design. We'll be getting into that in a video to come, I believe. So appreciate you watching this far. If you like it, please subscribe or like the video. That would help me let me know that you're into what I'm doing. And I think that is it for this one. So the next part will be me kicking things off. See you there. All right, welcome to the beginning of the hands-on portion of the series here. I was actually just spending quite a bit of time messing around with Alyssa's logo. Her current logos look like this. There's a long form and a stacked version. She said they're over 5 years old or so, so I was thinking maybe of freshening them up on my side. And I don't know if you've ever tried your own personal branding, but it's one of those things that I think you just start to try to put too much thought into it, and it's just the hardest thing to do, at least for me in the past. But for hers, I'm trying to invoke a more modern approach, maybe something a little more cleaner than what she has here, which works, but it's not quite, I would say, professional route we want to take things quite yet. So where I ended up, and where she actually gave me a quick bit of feedback on all these here. This one was a big concept. I was just trying to toy with, infinite color in terms of endless. It's a play on words. If you don't know, it's endless designs. So there's endless possibilities. And that's kind of what she started doing, like freelance graphic design for. And now she's transitioning that business into a consultancy. So she's going to help businesses with branding and marketing, kind of help them plan to scale. In doing that, she wants to appear a bit more professional. She gave me some inspiration in a previous video you've probably seen if you're watching along. These a couple of sites that are pretty minimal looking, but they use big, bold type, stuff that's real prominent, that stands out. Essentially, it's clear, it's focused, and there's really no room for error, so to speak. This design, let me pull it over here, you guys probably can't see it, is invoking more of the lifestyle, which is kind of what she's looking for too. She wants to appear as a real person on the end. So if you view the website, you want to know who you're talking to. And in this case, this is a nutritionist, I think, or some sort of thing, where she actually creates programs. This site, I just realized, is built using a theme builder, Divi, on Elegant Themes. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but if you look and you see ET/anything, it's Elegant Themes. So this has been tweaked, obviously, to match their branding, which is, that's what it's for. but I think we could do one better by making more of a custom design. On both sites, I think the key is the white space, so I think we'll continue that. With the logo here, it's kind of more minimalistic as opposed to Alyssa's older one, so that's kind of the idea as well, to kind of transition maybe into something more clean, more modern, and simple. So at this point, I'm going to start building out the style guide using this as kind of our model. I have some colors up here that I basically used to build this guy. I might use those. I might develop a new palette. I'll do that right now, actually. So neat thing I like to try every once in a while is if you select the main color, which I don't even have, I'm going to put this as a global color. Global colors are, we'll just put like endless blue. Essentially a color that is like a symbol. So if you were to use something with the same color somewhere else, and say you updated this color, there we go. So like instances like that, if you create elements with the same global color, they'll update in real time as you change the color. I'm gonna revert that back, but that's essentially how that works. And it's pretty useful as you find if a client or something says they want to try something in a different color or different shade, you're just like ready to go with that. Another thing you can do, which I might try here, is to generate color codes. There's complementary colors, analogous, all these different triadic, square, tints, shades, tones. Let's just click around and see what happens. So there's contemporary. I might do that again for analogous, and one more time for accented. So they're kind of neutral colors. They're not real bright and bold, and that's okay. We might tweak that to be a little brighter, to be honest. So let's make this that color, and let's make the global color a little bit brighter. Maybe something like so. One thing I want to change though is this dot in the middle was this gray. And if you haven't noticed, I made a document ready color palette here. You can do that by clicking this caret drop down up here. Sorry, my screen's getting cut off. Let me hide this. So essentially, if you add a document palette, you can do the same in your project. This is just only in this document. If you want to add one for the entire system, you can add one for the entire system. You can add one for the app itself. Up to you how you want to do that. It's one nifty feature in Affinity Designer I don't think is really, anywhere else. I have another video about this color management if you want to check that out. But essentially, that's how that works. So going forward, I want to establish some typography. And in this logo, actually, this is a Gotham light. It's not a free font, but I have the Gotham library on my machine. It's a very universal font. You can use it for almost anything, but there's tons of different weights and stuff. So I invite you to check it out. So let's get into some typography. Let's start with the heading one. I'm gonna do basically just placeholder for now. It's not a big deal if it's real. I'm using an app called Little Ipsum for the actual heading style. And on the left here, if you notice that there's text styles you can define. You can basically go along and make all these different styles on your own, or just delete them and start new. I sometimes basically going to do that just to get things rolling. I think I'll start there and I'll change things as I go. So by default, the heading is Arial 20-point bold. Definitely want to change that. So if you double click into this, it'll open up the text style pane. It is based on the body. So maybe we'll update the body first to make it a different font. I was wondering what they used on this site as the main. Is it like what everyone else uses? Carla. Interesting. It's kind of nice. I don't know that we're going to copy it verbatim, but I do like the headings. I know that they're Georgia. I think we might copy that. I don't know. Like I said, this part might be boring. It's just me kind of finding something I like that isn't the same old thing. I don't like to continuously use certain patterns I have before. It's kind of boring when that happens. So I do have like a set of favorite body fonts though. Most of them, to be honest, are system fonts, just because for one, they don't tax your machine or have to go load from some other server, and two, they're just quicker to load. So it might be easier. Let's try fonts. Sometimes it's just easier to look on the actual font library. I think I want to do a sans serif body with a serif heading. So, give me a paragraph. That's not bad. Cool. Actually, kind of like that. Okay. Well, that was fast. Let me see if I have that installed. I did this thing where I installed like all the damn Google fonts with a bash script. Probably a bad idea, but I mean, everything's here, so whatever. Okay, cool. I do. Awesome. All right, let's start there. I do not like to use text that's full black on any design. I usually start with a 3 across, just to give it less contrast on a white background. And honestly, that's kind of dark. So maybe we'll do 4. There we go. So that's our body. Let's change that to here. 12. I think we're going to use like 16. That seems huge, but we're going to do that. We're going to do this. And all we're doing at this point is just essentially setting a defined style that can be reused coming up. I'll show you how that works. That's what a text style is in a sense. So here's our body style. If we go to heading, let's add a heading block, maybe just a sentence worth. And I think, I don't know, it's using Kula again. I don't really like that for the heading. I think we're gonna do maybe Georgia or something. I like that. GEO. It's the only thing that's kind of buggy about Affinity is you can't just search a font like you could in Photoshop. Would be convenient. Georgia. There we go. I might use our primary color here as the accent. Maybe go a little bigger, like 22 for the H1. Possibly even bigger for the H1 actually, so like 28. I don't even know if 16 is too big, I think. Maybe we'll do 14. Yeah. Something like so. We need to make a paragraph, so to do that you need to use the text frame tool. I'm gonna do like a Just a couple of paragraphs here. So as it pastes this style, if you just go click your body, copy styling, you'll see it update. One thing that does not look good is the spacing tabs. That's the paragraph. We need leading. Let's go V19. Looks pretty good. I'll actually just get rid of that one. Now, if I was handing this off to an actual like developer or something, I might like put actual specs and stuff into this. I think for the sake of time, I'm gonna leave that part out. I don't need to drag on this video just to show you how I do that. Essentially, I just label it. I put the font size, the color, and the line height. That's about it. So exciting. Okay, so let's do an H2. We create a new text style by using this, or character style. You can do paragraph, character, or group. I always do character. This one I'm going to call heading 2. We'll actually base it on heading 1. And then the color will be the same blue we used before. There will be, font is going to be Georgia. I guess I could have put no change, but I wanted to be explicit. As we need to do baseline, or no, I just want to do the size to be about 18 or so. So then when I select this, it'll jump down to that. I might make that a little larger to 20. And I'm sure, like, if a real developer was looking at me, it would be like, where are you getting your increments? And honestly, it's just what it looks like. I don't care if it's based on a exact, balanced equation, logarithm, whatever. This is design, so I think that can go out the window at this stage. It's too early to start getting that articulate in my mind. I don't know. Some developers would disagree. It's like, if you don't establish that up front, you're gonna just wreck yourself later. I think that's bullshit. But hey, one thing I just saw is, look at the gap in our paragraph here. I think I'm gonna tweak that. You can do that as well. And if you go to paragraph, space after, let's crank that down to like 4 or 5, maybe 4. Yeah. So that'll update. And then, yeah, I'm liking that. At this point, I either like completely start over with typography, or I am satisfied. So let's see. So besides body fonts and headings, we're going to need, I'm going to do obviously one more heading. Maybe our third heading will actually be an off color. Let's create one more text style based on heading 2. Let's color this. Basically the same as our body copy color. And then the size I'm going to make even smaller, 18 or so. And then it's easier to just copy, so I'll do that. I think I'll have less margin below. And apologies if I'm just rambling. When I design, I rarely talk. I'm usually just thinking. So this is different, and the stuff I say probably won't make sense or sound stupid, but hey. Let's see how this looks. Definitely want that left align. Okay, already I need to adjust the line height, so I'm going to actually do that in the style itself. We can adjust the height, go to positions, form, and transform, I mean. And you can adjust the leading. We will do 10, maybe 12. Just to give a dual line heading. You always have to design for something like that, I think. All right, so, oops. Like I was saying before, obviously with body copy, we want to actually have like a link style or something like that. Link, bold text, italic text. So let's do that. This will be based on body, and essentially all it's going to be is that color filled in. Yep. All right. And I might do this style guide in different colors throughout. Right now we're using this color heavily, but typically I use like 2 to 3 colors total, plus white, black, and various grays. I don't know that you need more than that. I don't know. Depends on your design, of course, and what you're building, but you don't want to go too rainbowy with a design. It'll start to confuse people, or it'll just be loud, very loud to look at. Let's do one more, and we'll do bold. Font. We just want to adjust the weight to bold. Apply to selection. Maybe we just want medium. I guess that didn't do anything. Oh, there's no medium. I don't know why it did that. We'll do semi-bold. I like that more. Not too crazy. Okay. That. One big thing I stick to with a long form text design, like a blog post or something, for example, is to keep the margins really wide. It makes it easier to read. I like to keep regular, like actual books in mind when I design for a blog or some sort of written text, thinking in mind that the page that the text is on isn't going to be like, you know, edge to edge. The text will not go that far, nor is it readable doing that. So the margins on books are extra wide for that reason, except for like maybe the Bible or something where they try to cram as much as they can into a giant book, but that's a whole different topic. I like to design for nearly everything. I don't anticipate Alyssa doing much code on her blog or whatever, or the site will be. So one thing we can do though is it's a block quote for citations and stuff like that. It's always good to have. I'm feeling like maybe we do a full colored version. Maybe in this color that we're using. You know, I've been using this color, but it's not the one, not the global color. Let me fix that. Oops. I'm gonna make this a global. There, like right there is what I want. hope that updates this, because that's stupid if not. Oh, okay, so I have to do this. Update. Okay, sorry for that little segue, guys. All right, so say we have a block quote here. It'd be cool to have some sort of element to use. I don't know, but for now I'm gonna just do a basic text block and maybe a couple sentences. Let's create a new character style. We'll apply that to the selection. Let's call this block quote. This will be based on the body, or no, this will be based on the heading. We do not want it to be bold. We want the color to be white. Letting, definitely override that. Pretty large. And outline font, can we do Georgia? There we go, italic, that's what I wanted. Okay, and I think that's essentially it. Okay. One thing I want to add is just for grins, the quotes. Maybe I'll add like a little dashed border thingy here. I don't know. I just randomly thought of this, so let's try like a white stroke is dashed. Give it like a pretty large dash, or not. Actually, I don't want it that large. Smaller than that even, not T. Something like that. And we'll make that color a little opaque. Okay. I'm going to make this a much smaller. That should work. So we're literally just laying foundation at this point. Nothing major. This all can easily change. Maybe I'll do one more. And I'd like to have one heading that is the other font in a different form. So let's create one more. This will be, say, our heading 4. It's already named it for me. Awesome. I want to change it to a Kula or whatever we're using. Maybe a regular, and the size will definitely be smaller. $15 or so. I do want to change it to be all caps. How do I do that? Here we go. So let's do that. We need to first get rid of some of this text. Let's do something like that. And go back and edit. I think the font should be maybe a little bolder. No, definitely not. Let's make the tracking more. Maybe like 50%. And the color can probably be not so dark. Maybe like a lighter gray. There we go. Okay. Ooh, that went to nowhere. 0.5. Yeah. I think as the design phase comes along, I'll be more articulate with what I'm doing. But right now it's just kind of getting, okay, do these typefaces work together? Are the colors matching well? Is the spacing okay, or should it be tweaked? Stuff like that. It's going to be a process for sure. So this isn't the end solution by any means, but it is something I will refer to, I think, as the design goes on. So I think that gives us kind of a bit of idea of typography. There's obviously more I could do with it in terms of different callouts, how images wrapped around content, stuff like that. I think I'll worry about that a little later. I want to get into like buttons at this time, or actually color. Why don't we do color? Because right now I'm using one accent color and it's working. I want to make sure we have a palette though that's, I guess, working together alongside this color. I might need one more, I would say, secondary color. I would call this blue green like a primary color. The secondary I'm feeling might be a purplish color or something. I've used all these before. We can tie into her actual palette here and see what's working, what isn't next to this blue. So there's red's too loud. Green, that kind of looks like crap. Another blue. I don't hate this purple, but it seems like it's very cool, calm color. So what about some of these it generated? Maybe this green. Or this red. How about this red? That's not bad. Maybe I'll do something like this. Keep that green. So they're kind of muted colors. They're not loud by any means, but they are, I don't know, modern. And I think I'll pull this gray out of this color, which is 6F across. And that'll be like our utility kind of color or something. Basic text color. I might add that as a global color. Let's put our global colors by each other. I'm actually going to get rid of that one. Okay. The buttons can be, I don't know, very simple or complex. I like to kind of keep them simple myself. Like, you don't really want to make a button more than it needs to be. It's just something that needs to look like you can click on it. If you do, I think the key thing with buttons needs to be the interactivity. If you hover over one, for instance, it needs to actually do something instead of just your cursor changing or something. Do we want to go rounded? Maybe very little. And we can make a text style for the buttons too. I don't hate what I have here. Let's create a new one. Button, text, font. We'll keep it white. Position. I think we'll do something like so. Maybe I'll make it bold, semi-bold. I'll call this one primary. I think the tracking is messed up. So let's change that. Tracking back to 0. And you can add strokes, you can add shadows to this. I think I'm going to do all that on the actual interactive state. Oops. So secondary. This will be this color, which we can add as a global color as well. Oops. That needs to be white. Yikes. Okay. And like tertiary. I don't know that I'll use this red, but I'm going to put it there. Just because. Oh, come on. There we go. Okay, so I can name this tertiary, secondary, and primary. Airy. And I like to do one that's just straight up utility. It's basically can work with anything. You just need to actually define it. So I like to just commonly use a pretty light gray color with an inverted text. This specific style, I'll just, override the text style. It's not a big deal. And then we probably want primary ghost. In some cases, you need a ghosted button. When a ghosted button is just basically no fill, but a stroke. At least that's what I refer to them as. and then the text itself is the same color except on like hover or something. So let's do that for these just to have them, or I'll just do this. Swap that. Stroke needs to be point. Swatches, secondary, that color. We'll update this. This will be that. We'll do that though. And then get rid of the fill. I don't really think I'll use utility that way, but it's all right. So I think on hover, this button will essentially, what I like to do is transform it to just move up like 1 pixel, just so it gives that impression that it's off the screen a little bit. I'll show you guys how to do that probably once I hit the code for this. But when you do that, you can add like, let's say just a box shadow as well, and in Affinity Designer it would be outer shadow. We want to cue in the right angle, give it a radius, offset a bit. Actually want to invert that, and you can use black, but man, black's so black. I don't like to go too wild with the shadow. Maybe something like that, just to give the impression that, hey, this, you know, it's been lifted, there's something going on. I could even make the color, let's say, a little darker, just a touch to eye. Like I could define that, and I probably should, but I think I'll do that in code with Sass. So with this, I could create all types of defined styles. You can create a style off of anything, but I plan to use these as assets over here, if you look, when I get to that point. So one thing that's, I wish Affinity Designer had is, in Photoshop you could copy a layer style. You cannot do that here, and I don't understand. I guess that's their style palette thing, where you just, you know, create a style, there it is, defined, use it when you need it. But it would be really helpful to do it on a layer basis, at least from my perspective. So because at this point I can't just copy this style because it's using, you know, this different color, so I can't just use the box shadow in this and then swap the color. I mean, I can. Do I want to? No, because then I still have to change stuff, so it's kind of shitty. Oh, did I just select the wrong one? Yeah, that's primary. But anyway, what I have to end up doing is just like the old school way of looking at the actual effect, what parameters I defined, and then just duplicating them here. So sadly, you get to watch. So we get 0.8, 0.4, 25. Oh God. $25. And this was here. I can't spell. Hobber. All right, let's do it last for this one. I don't remember what I did, so now I get to go look at this one. I feel like that's too much. 25%, 0.8, 0.4. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I didn't use full black. See what I mean? Like, why can't I just copy the layer style? How useful. It's not a deal breaker for me, but man. And I guarantee you all three of these are different, but thanks to code, I can duplicate stuff and it'll look all right. Forgot to change the colors. So this needs to be a little darker. Same with this one. Actually, I think I did change this one. Yeah, this one, again, the same. Sorry you guys have to sit through this. Obviously, you have the power to skip forward. Do that if you want. So let's be a second here. And 25. Boom. All right. I think that should work for now for what we need. There can obviously be tweaks, and these colors I'm not sold on, but they're working right now for that kind of minimal open air kind of vibe. At least that's what I'm going for. And I can make this style guide look all fancy and shit, but realistically it's just something for myself, and as long as I have something to refer back to, that's cool. I think I'll stop the video there. This has been going on a long time, so I want to continue this in the next one. I think I'll do some form elements, maybe some, you know, how I'm going to treat imagery, maybe icons that we might use. I don't know, stuff like that. So I will see you in that video coming up.